From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Azino Pil. The top stories tonight. ASUU Suspends 2-week warning strike gives 1-month ultimatum for further negotiation with federal government. And terrorists kill 1 and abduct 12 others in Kaduna hospital as DSS warns of imminent attacks in Ondo and Kogi States. Court orders Israel to facilitate delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip to ensure Palestinian civilians' basic needs are met.
Nigeria concludes plans to invest $220 million in creating job opportunities for its teeming youths.
And in sports, Victor Osimhen and Nwabali feature as Morocco dominates list of men's nominees for the 2025 CAF Awards.
Tonight begins now. Welcome again. Now we begin tonight with some cherry news, and that's the suspended 2-week warning strike by the staff, or rather academic staff union of universities, ASUU. The strike, which commenced on October the 13th, was called off by the president of ASUU, Professor Chris Puwuna, who noted that recent interventions by the Yayale-led Ahmed-led committee and the deputy president of the Senate, Benjamin Kalu, has led to the union's reconsideration of its position. ASUU has now given the federal government 1 month to address its demands, urging it to prioritize the 2009 agreement, pay all outstanding salaries and earned allowances owed lecturers, among other demands.
Suspend the warning strike to reciprocate the overwhelming support of Nigerians. In addition, NEC resolved that a 1-month window should be given to government to conclude the ongoing negotiations of the 2009 FGN ASUU discussions and fully address other outstanding issues. NEC hopes that the government will take advantage of this opportunity to seamlessly resolve all the issues in order to guarantee industrial harmony and ensure stability of our academic calendar.
Joseph Uche is a professor of English at the University of Uyo and a former secretary of ASUU, University of Uyo chapter. He joins me now to speak to the federal government ASUU row. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us tonight. Indeed. Now, Professor, a lot has been happening over the years since 2009. There have been strikes on and off. We've seen this pattern before. What should we expect in the event that the 1-month ultimatum given to the federal government elapses without any tangible response?
Maximus, for having me here, and let me truly thank all Nigerians who have seen the need to urge governments to do the right thing. To address the question, let me raise one, before I address your question, let me raise one thing. What happens if we didn't have ASUU in Nigeria? What happens in all the other countries of the world where they don't have such an equivalent of ASUU? Doesn't the government have the responsibility to fund its own schools properly? The schools established by is for the good of the citizens. I think that that's a responsibility of the government. So ASUU is essentially helping the government, helping Nigerians to ensure that the schools are in good condition. Now, the issue, the question you raised is this. I would rather ask, what would Nigerians do if the federal government continues to renege on its responsibility to first provide some living wage for lecturers? Because as we all know, at the moment, first-class graduates, second class uppers don't stay back. They leave either to other sectors of the economy or to other lands where they may not even be as needed as they are in this country. So if ASUU goes on strike, it's doing that on behalf of Nigerians, it's doing that on behalf of the country, on behalf of the students and the parents who cannot afford to send their children to the private universities, very expensive private universities here, or to institutions well funded by patriotic governments in other lands. Now, the idea of strike.
Professor Ushie, we seem to have lost that connection there with Professor Ushie. We will try and reconnect and bring back that conversation. We had many questions to ask here regarding the original authors of the demands by ASUU, but we'll try and make sure that that connection gets back so we can have that. Moving on now, the Senate has passed for the second reading the 2025 electoral bill, which seeks to repeal and replace the current Electoral Act 2022. During Wednesday's plenary, the Senate also passed for the second reading a bill seeking to double the basic healthcare provision fund. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim reports from the National Assembly.
Deliberations on the bill started on Thursday, October 16, but was stepped down to allow for wider consultation. The bill topped the agenda for Wednesday as lawmakers continued deliberations on the legislation which aims to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process. Deputy President of the Senate, Barrow Jibrin, while opening the session, cautioned lawmakers to focus their debate on the general principles of the bill and avoid delving into the details until later stages of consideration. One after another, lawmakers took turns contributing to the debate.
We should resolve, each and every one of us, and also collectively, we as senators shall not aid and abet unemployed or semi-employed people and arm them to disrupt election. If we reform our character, this problem is 90% solved. The burden of proof in electoral matters, Mr. President, must shift to INEC. We should not subject it to the normal evidential rule that says he who alleges must prove.
It is assumed that whatever INEC does is perfect. So this time around, the INEC must be held responsible because they are the ones that have the electoral materials and they are the ones that are in charge of logistics and all.
The session also saw renewed calls for clearly defining the role of security agencies during elections, addressing the challenges of party primaries and considering voting provisions for Nigerians in the diaspora, among others. The Senate also passed for the second reading a bill seeking to amend the National Health Act 2014 to increase the basic healthcare provision fund from 1% to 2% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Sponsor of the bill, Ipalibo Banigo from Rivers West, says that it seeks to expand Nigeria's primary healthcare financing base and improve access to essential health services nationwide.
We will double available funding to strengthen these frontline facilities and guarantee access to essential medicines and services, particularly for women, children, and our rural communities.
If we take care of the preventive side of our health system, what it means is that our population will be healthier and their productivity or contribution to economic prosperity will be greater.
The bill attracted broad bipartisan support and was referred to the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary for further legislative work, with a report expected within 4 weeks. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
We now return to our previous conversation on the ASUU FG strike, which was called off by ASUU. Professor Ushie joins us again. Professor, thank you for sticking around. Professor, let's take a look at this now. It's been 14 years since the original demand, and since then, plenty has changed. There is, well, considerations to the tertiary education decline in Nigeria. There's also, well, an effect on the enrollment of students. There's a state university implication here, and also the effect on social trust when it comes to Nigerian education. But given that the government of the day is not the author of the said 2009 agreement, would you consider a review or modification of the document if the current government demands it or suggests it?
Yeah, thank you very much once more, Mazinus, for that. ASUU is not a dictatorial organization. ASUU believes in dialogue, ASUU believes in negotiation, but ASUU believes essentially that the force of argument should supersede. Now, the issue, however, is that the tampering with the document must also have a timeline. It must have a framework. It's not as if like now, 2009 agreement, the review began in 2017 and is continuing. And therefore, if each government that comes returns to the same document and tries all over again, that kind of thing is not welcome, is not acceptable. But if within the framework of what we have on ground, government says, well, this is what we can do, ASUU would listen. But don't forget too that in the same manner that we are talking of a review, ASUU can also argue for an upward review, because if you take even 2017 till date, so much has happened. The inflation has come in. So ASUU actually should be the one saying, let us review upwards the document that we had, because if it had been done in 2017, the value would have been higher. So when we talk of review, it shouldn't just be thought of as a one-way thing. ASUU can also say, look, let us look at the realities on ground. And while we are not holding the present government entirely responsible for everything, because this has lasted, as you rightly said, 14 years, but we expect this government to do better than any other, given its promises, that there wouldn't be strikes. So we expect a lot more from this.
We expect a lot. Well, Professor, I don't know about that. The non-combative stance of ASUU seems to be, well, a bit, but we'll wait and see, and we hope for the best. Thank you very much, Professor Oshier, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And
coming up tonight, IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu begins defense, lists 23 witnesses. Details of this and more coming up if you stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Tonight on News Central. Now, a reminder of our top stories. ASUU suspends 2-week warning strike, gives 1-month ultimatum for further negotiations with federal government. And terrorists kill 1 and abduct 12 others in Kaduna hospital as DSS warns of imminent attacks in Ondo and Kogi States. And court orders Israel to facilitate delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip to ensure Palestinian civilians' basic needs are met. The Lady Cato CAF Scholarship Scheme, an initiative of Grooming Center, awarded scholarships to 943 students across 26 states of the Federation, a feat described as a boost for hope and confidence. Placidia Ibo-Kulie here reports.
In a time and country where education often feels like a privilege, not a right, the scholarship organized by the Grooming Center celebrates academic excellence and aims to empower students from low-income homes through education.
Say it again as you mean it. I am a light to my generation.
Speakers at the event emphasized that education remains the most powerful tool to break poverty and build a better future.
And you look at the young generation with everything that is happening, the impact of education, the creativity that comes with education, the confidence that being educated gives you. And that is why we undertake in all this kind of initiative. The collapse of education is the collapse of the nation.
While parents speak of relief, the students look at the future.
For this money, I think I'm going to use it to continue my education. I'm in SS2 and now I have a lot of future plans, and I'm going to be a veterinary doctor. I just love animals and I want to be able to take care of them. And I pray that grooming center will be able to help lots of children and continue to help them to progress in their life. I just want to thank them. I also want to thank my parents for the chance to be able to come to this glorious place.
Thank you for what grooming did in my life. So I'm very appreciative for what I did for my daughter education. I'm very appreciative.
I'm very, very grateful, and I'm showing them my appreciation, and I hope and I pray I'll make a better person in future.
Mo dúpẹ́ fún scholarship táwọn grooming tán fún wa. Ilé-iṣẹ́ wọn ó máa gòkè sí ní lórúkọ Ọlọ́run.
The Lady Kate Okafor Scholarship Scheme, organized by the Grooming Center, supports brilliant but financially challenged students, giving them a chance to stay in school and build a better future.
We're encouraging education in the country. So that's the way what we're doing, and it's impacting on them. The long-term plan for this initiative is to make sure that we get to all nooks and corners of the country.
We are so pleased with the scheme because it has changed a lot of lives. The money they get, they use to initiate, to kick off and start their senior secondary schools and prepare their minds for the future. The scholarship doesn't just stop at Lady Kate. It goes forward to the university programs where 20 of the grooming center clients get to apply and receive full scholarship, full education scholarship in the university for so many different courses.
Beyond the smiles and the speeches, this kind gesture is a reminder that equipping individuals with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to take control of their lives plays a vital role in contributing to the society.
Let's head to Abuja now, where the Chartered Institute of Directors annual conference has gathered business leaders, policymakers, and governance experts to explore strategies for building resilient, sustainable, and future-ready organizations. Now, with conversations centered on strengthening institutional capacity for risk, resilience, and recovery, the event continues to spotlight leadership excellence and good governance as key drivers for national development. Let's now turn to the president of Chartered Institute of Directors, Adetunji Oyebanji, to speak to us on the ongoing conference and its prospects. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Now, you're welcome. Now, this year's conference has brought together leaders from across sectors to discuss resilience and institutional capacity. So, sir, from your perspective, how significant are these conversations in shaping Nigeria's corporate and also governance landscape?
Well, they're very significant because Nigeria, like every other part of the world, is undergoing a lot of change. Change in the sense, in the case of Nigeria, a lot of reforms have taken place. A lot of reforms are still in the pipeline. And also on the global stage, there are a lot of changes in terms of geopolitical issues in various parts of the world, which obviously impact the economy of the world in different ways. So because of that, we need to focus boards of directors in how do you manage through this kind of change? How do you also take account of things like artificial intelligence, climate change? These are all things that bring about change, not only within our own country, but globally. So I think it's very, very important that we focus on these things and prepare boards to be able to manage and lead through such changes.
Well, sir, so in a period marked by economic uncertainty and also evolving businesses and business models, what role do you believe that CLOD should play in guiding directors towards more sustainable and forward-thinking leadership then?
there are lots of areas in which we can contribute and help. Firstly, a lot of the programs that we run in the Institute are focused on things like ESG, which has to do with the economic, social, and governance issues, environment issues. So we do run a lot of programs that focus on those areas. The conference actually itself is themed Leading Through Change, building sustainable and resilient enterprises. Again, this is another area that focuses on how do we prepare the directors in this country to be able to manage better, to be able to lead better in an environment where there's so much change. I've spoken about the reforms that are taking place earlier. I talked about things like artificial intelligence, cybercrime. These are all new things that are becoming more important day to day in running businesses, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. So the emphasis of CIoD is to prepare our members, who are mostly directors in companies in Nigeria, to be better equipped, to be able to manage the risks associated with those changes, to be able to predict the future better, and be innovative in terms of dealing with the various changes that are taking place.
Mr. Nwabali, how exactly are you preparing these directors? What are you using? Is it training, or is it advocacy? Is it policy influence, or maybe even peer collaboration? I just want to know the detail of this.
Okay, I would say it's a mix of everything. Of course, the main focus area of the Institute is capacity building. So, of course, we do a lot of training. We also have an affiliate institution, the CIoD Institute of Corporate Governance. So a lot of time is spent. We offer many programs for directors in all these various areas. But beyond that, advocacy is one of the things that we also spend a lot of our time doing. This conference, for instance, is a tool for advocacy. Today we had the Minister of Budget and Planning, Senator Atiku Bagudu, CON, who represented the President and Commander-in-Chief, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GC, FR, at the conference. So through this kind of interactions, through the platform presented by a conference like this, we also, interact with government officials. We also had a representative of the Minister of Finance at the conference. We also had the Minister of Education at the conference today, and various other government officials. We also had a representative of the head of the civil service. So again, one of the areas, we help to develop directors is through this kind of interaction with government, where we can also influence policy in terms of, again, preparing directors to be able to prepare themselves for managing sustainability in their organizations.
So, I want to see, or I want to ask where Nigeria is, or how Nigeria positions when it comes to global standards. So I'm wondering what some of the reforms or strategic priorities you believe must be advanced to align corporate governance practices in Nigeria with global best standards.
Well, again, a very important question. First, I don't think we are where we need to be. We have a lot of work to do, both within corporate organizations, but also within the public sector. The Nigerian state owns many companies, starting, for example, from companies like NNPC. There are many other, state-owned organizations. And I think it's important for the best standards of corporate governance to be present not only within the private sector, but also in the public sector entities. So a lot of training and a lot of capacity building, I think, is very important. For us, in addition, collaboration is very important. So we are entering collaboration with various institutions, organizations like the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, for instance, the civil service of the Federation, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI. These are institutions that we want to develop collaborations with so that we can help to transmit the best corporate governance practices so that they are established not only within the private sector enterprises. Most of our companies, most of our members belong to private sector enterprises, but increasingly we're bringing people also from the public sector to come on board so that the message of corporate governance is spread far and wide within this country. And we believe that as corporate governance standards improve, as companies and directors begin to equip themselves to manage sustainability, to manage the changes that are taking place, I think things will continue to improve from there.
Mr. Adetunji Oyebanji, Director, or rather President of Chartered Institute of Directors, I want to say thank you very much for joining us tonight. Our detained leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, I beg your pardon. We're going to short break, and when we come back, we'll be telling you about this story. Welcome back. And as from before, detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has informed the Federal High Court in Abuja of his readiness to begin his defense on October the 24th, 2025, as directed by the court order from October 16, 2015. Kanu plans to call 23 witnesses, including former Defense Minister General Theophilus Danjuma, former Chief of Army Staff General Tukur Buratai, as well as Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Hope Uzodinma. He also listed current Minister of the Federal Capital Territory Administration and Works, Nyesom Wike and Dave Umahi, amongst others. The IPOB leader divided his witnesses into ordinary but material and vital and compellable, the latter to be summoned under Section 232 of the Evidence Act 2011. And at least one person was killed and 12 others, including patients and doctors, were kidnapped when gunmen invaded Nasara Nursing and Maternity Home in Kujama, Kaduna State on Wednesday. The early morning attack also saw residents kidnapped from nearby homes, including entire families. This comes amid ongoing peace deals between the state government and terrorist groups. Authorities have yet to issue an official statement on the incident. And the DSS has alerted the Nigerian army to an imminent ISWAP plot targeting communities in Ondo and Kogi States. The leaked security memo named Owo, Iriti Akoko and Onye Akoko among potential targets under surveillance by the group. Authorities have begun ramping up security, with police confirming deployments in the affected areas. This warning follows the deadly 2022 Owo church attack, also blamed on ISWAP. Meanwhile, the governments of Kogi and Ondo states have assured residents there's no cause for alarm over the recent DSS alert of possible ISWAP attack. They're urging residents to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to security operatives in Kogi State. Now, in Kogi State, the Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Farmer, praised security agencies for proactive intelligence that could help prevent any threat, assuring that Governor Dodo has reinforced surveillance and border security to foil any terrorist attempt. Now, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited has launched a women empowerment program as part of its corporate social responsibility drive aimed at supporting 869 women with grants to grow their businesses and trades. News Central's Biola Festus here reports.
Beneficiaries of the Women Empowerment Program will be selected from communities located along the Trans-Niger Corridor, the surveillance area of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, PINL.
PINL is not directly involved, in the selection. So the communities have submitted the names through their traditional rulers and all those in charge of the community. So what we are doing here today is to capture these beneficiaries, to capture them, their data, their names, their details, business names and all that, because basically one of the key criteria for this is that you have to be involved already in a business, there's something that you should be doing so that what PINL is doing now is to move that business to the next level, giving you financial support and other kind of support that is required.
Organizers say the decision to introduce the program followed a needs assessment and repeated appeals from representatives of oil-producing communities.
We are also hearing about women empowerment. The women say thank you. Anyone that knows other companies, please tell them to keep shame aside. Let them ask pipeline infrastructure. How do we do these things so that there will be peace in our land?
Please, when you bring some of these lessons, like the form, tax some women so that they will know that this is for the women.
Stakeholders described the initiative as a significant step towards self-sufficiency and community development, addressing the financial challenges faced by women in rural areas. Prospective beneficiaries say the empowerment scheme will enhance their socioeconomic status and lay a solid foundation for long-term economic independence.
We have been praying PINL that they are trying. They have been trying since they started. Among all the companies coming around us in Rivers State, I'm grading them as #1 now.
Unlike their male counterparts, many women in parts of the Niger Delta have been long marginalized, despite often bearing the brunt of environmental degradation. Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, however, assures women in its host communities of strategic inclusion in its developmental plans.
PIN and its host communities are not just partners, we are a family, bound together by shared responsibility and a common destiny. Our success in safeguarding the Eastern Corridor is not just about protecting pipelines, it's about protecting livelihoods, preserving the environment, and shaping a more inclusive future for our people.
The PINL's initiative aligns with growing calls for women's inclusion and participation in Nigeria's energy sector, an effort seen as vital to bridging the gender gap and promoting diversity and inclusion in the workforce. In Rivers for News Central, Biola Festus.
As Nigeria edges closer to the 2027 general elections, activities of the government and certain politicians have left stakeholders questioning what the future holds for the country. While speaking to senior journalists in Lagos, Dr. Olisa Agbakuba, senior advocate of Nigeria, says he is of the opinion that a devolution and not just restructuring will be the best solution for governance in the country. According to Dr. Agbakuba, Nigerians should make devolution an issue on the ballot come 2027. He further elaborated his points in a 22-page document titled "Devolution is the Solution: Foundational Reform Agenda for Nigeria's Transformation."
Now that this election fever is coming again, it is time to call attention of the political giants, and I named the leading ones in the policy document. Of course, before the elections, some other giants may emerge. But if they don't confront the elephant in the room, and there's only one elephant, economic and political restructuring, we are going to be in this for a long time. But if the National Assembly can produce a constitution which we can accept, and I've given two models, I've given the Aburi model, and I've given the 1963 model. These are documents they can use. But I think that the president should be at the forefront of the drive. So whichever model is used, what is important is if we all read it, we'll say, yes, this is what we want. Yes, they talk about it to deceive.
To East Africa, where at least 46 people were killed and several were injured in a collision involving 4 vehicles, including 2 buses, on a highway in western Uganda early on Wednesday. Our police initially reported 63 fatalities, but later revised the figure to 46, stating some unconscious victims were mistakenly included in the initial count. Official figures show 5,144 people have died in road crashes in Uganda in 2024, with careless overtaking and speeding accounting for 44.5% of all documented crashes. At least 7 people were killed, including 2 children, during intense Russian drone and missile strikes on Ukraine. A kindergarten was hit in Ukraine's second biggest city, Kharkiv, and there was widespread damage in Kiev. Children were among the 27 people wounded. Hours earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump said his plan for an imminent summit in Budapest with Russia's Vladimir Putin had been shelved as he did not want a wasted meeting. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attacks proves Moscow had not come under enough pressure for its continued war. To one of our top stories now. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, has ordered Israel to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip by the United Nations and its entities to ensure the basic need of the Palestinian civilians are met. An advisory opinion from the UN's top court also said Israel had not substantiated its allegations that the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees lacked neutrality, or that a significant number of its staff were members of Hamas or other armed groups. UNRWA has denied the claims. Israel rejected the opinion as political and insisted it would not cooperate with UNRWA. The opinion is non-binding, but it carries significant moral and diplomatic weight. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment. Stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
The federal government has launched the Nigeria's Jubilee Fellows Program 2.0, a $220 million youth employment initiative in partnership with the European Union and United Nations Development Program. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who inaugurated the program in Abuja, said it aims to bridge the gap between learning and earning by connecting graduates with training, mentorship, and real-world experience. The initiative will be integrated into national planning frameworks to ensure sustainability. Shettima urged private sector and development partners to join the effort, describing it as an investment in Nigeria's youth and a pathway to inclusive economic growth. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency has announced a major management shakeup affecting 56 senior staff as part of efforts to enhance productivity and service delivery across the maritime sector. According to the agency's spokesperson, Edward Osage, the restructuring aims to reposition NIMASA for improved performance and growth. Director General Dr. Dayo Moberiola said the reorganization will strengthen interdepartmental collaboration and inject new energy into operations. Key appointments include Hajia Jimo as Director of Administration and HR Aishatu Jidda as Director of Planning and Barrister Hiki Dimowo as Director of Legal Services, among others. We'll take a short break, and when we get back, we'll bring you the stock market report. Please do stay with us. You're welcome back, and let's take a look at the stock market report for today. Well, it was a bright day on the Nigerian exchange as bullish sentiment returned to the floor. The all-share index jumped to 1.5% to close at 153,736.25 points, and the market capped out at 97.58 trillion naira. Now, this was, of course, powered by strong gains in industrial and oil and gas stocks. So let's see what's going on in the sectoral performance. Now, banking closed in the red at 0.42%. Also closing in the red was insurance at 0.51%. As I said earlier on, industrial goods took the cake today, closing at 3.45%. Consumer goods also in the green, 0.3%. And oil and gas also amongst the top closers today, closed at 2.07%. And that's how the market wrapped up today. Industrial giants doing the heavy lifting, while financials took a breather. With the ASI up 1.5%, investors will be watching to see if this bullish spark can turn into a lasting rally as the week winds down. And as always, our eyes are on the ticker. Well, that's all for business tonight. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Coming up next is sports with Onyi.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
In sport, Super Eagles star Victor Osimhen and Nwabali alongside Flying Eagles captain Daniel Bameyi, they have been shortlisted for the men's category for the 2025 CAF Awards. Osimhen scored 37 goals and who won the domestic double with Galatasaray last season with Nwabali of Chippa United. He's in contention for the goalkeeper of the year against South Africa Roman Williams and Andre Onana of Cameroon. Bameyi earned a nomination for the Young Player of the Year after strong Under-20 AFCON and FIFA Under-20 World Cup performances. The Confederation of African Football also unveiled nominees for Coach, Club and National Team of the Year. The award gala will be held this year in Morocco. A date of the ceremony has not been announced yet. In the UEFA Champions League, Nigerian international striker Victor Osimhen bagged a brace as Galatasaray beat Norwegian side Bodo Glimt 3-1 in Istanbul. Elsewhere in Spain, Athletic Bilbao striker Gorka Guruteza also scored twice as his team came from behind to beat visiting Karabakh of Azerbaijan 3-1. We'll bring you full-time scores and analysis on all the matches on Game On, which comes up immediately after the news. Moving on to our next story, Afrobeat sensation Davido has been appointed as the inaugural chairman of Osun Sport Trust Fund. In an announcement made today, the Osun State government said he was a move aimed at raising funds to transform the state's sports sector. It also affirmed its commitment to completing the ongoing renovation and rehabilitation of the Osogbo Township Stadium, assuring that the upgraded facility will meet Olympic standards upon completion. According to the Deputy Governor of the state, Kola Adeusi, who doubles as the Commissioner for Sport, the state government is determined to transform the stadium into a world-class sport arena that will not only host national tournaments, but also attract international competitions. Nigeria women's rugby football team, the Green Falcons, they have stepped up preparation for the International Rugby League Women's World Series 2025 final after a solid 10-0 victory over Ireland that they secured that spot in the championship match. The Falcons shot out a resilient Irish side to maintain their unbeaten run in the tournament and confirm their growing stature on the global rugby stage. The win puts the team into Sunday's final in the Canadian city, where they will face Fiji. Now, Fiji had crushed Canada 48-0 in the other semi-final. The winner will have to earn the final qualification spot for the 2025 Rugby League World Cup in Australia and Papua New Guinea. And that's all in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro. Entertainment is up next with Edeo.
Now finally, it's time for entertainment, and today, well, we have Adele in the studio who will be giving us all the details. Adele.
Yeah, so, well, let's jump right into the conversations quickly. It's a big moment in the music world as Juju legend Shina Peters got social media buzzing after boldly claiming he has more evergreen songs than Michael Jackson. According to him, MJ only has 2 timeless hits, Heal the World and Thriller, while he's got 4 that still break, the culture, make the culture happen. Now, let's be real. Shina Peters did define an era with jams like Afro Juju, Ace, and Ijo Shino. Songs that still light up, Owambe parties, but comparing himself to the king of pop, that's a bold step. Now, some social media went wild with many fans disagreeing. Still, there's no denying in Nigeria's soundscape, Shina Peters remains a true evergreen icon. Mezino, what do you think? Shina Peters, Michael Jackson, come on.
I'm not sure exactly how to feel here because I do like Shina Peters, but okay. Michael Jackson, no, Michael Jackson takes it.
Michael Jackson takes it.
Always, every time, twice on Sunday.
Okay, all right, now let's move on to something big as well that's happening on the international scene, and big win for the Queen of Christmas. Yes, I'm talking about Mariah Carey. She's just been named the 2026 Music Hair Person of the Year, and honestly, who deserves it more? With over 220 million records sold and 19 Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits, Mariah Carey isn't just an icon, she's a whole era. Beyond her timeless hits like Hero and All I Want for Christmas Is You, that we'll soon be hearing every time soon, she's also giving back through Camp Mariah and disaster relief efforts. Now, the Music Hears Gala happening before the 2026 Grammys will celebrate her indelible legacy, and we already know it's going to be a star-studded event with high notes for the night. Well, what can I say, Mazino? Does she deserve this or not?
Well, I can't remember any other song by Mariah Carey except the ones from December into January.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, maybe she does.
She does. All right, then. Well, that's all we have on entertainment tonight, by the way.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a reminder of our top stories. ASUU Suspends 2-week warning strike gives 1-month ultimatum for further negotiation with federal government. And terrorists kill 1 and abduct 12 others in Kaduna hospital as DSS warns of imminent attacks on Ondo and Kogi States. We're also told court orders Israel to facilitate delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip to ensure Palestinian civilians' basic needs are met. And remember, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube.